is Dr. Nathan Groot. I am a music instructor at the Arkansas School for Mathematics, Sciences, and the Arts, where I teach string ensemble, applied string lessons, and other music courses. Today, we're taking a look at the Wohlfahrt Etude number 7 for viola. This may be something you're studying on your own with your teacher. The primary purpose of this video is to prepare students for Arkansas all-region and all-state auditions. However, it should work well for both, I hope. This etude is really pretty straightforward. It's just running eighth notes. First things we need to check whenever we're approaching a new etude are the key and time signature. Key signature here is 3 flats, E flat major. So let's just review that really quickly. So if you have your viola, feel free to play along. Let's play a 2-octave E flat major scale. So we're gonna start on our low second finger on the C string, E flat, F. Feel free to play open string, G, A flat, low 1, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat 4th finger, low 4, B flat, C, D, E flat, low 4, and back down, repeat the top note, and back down. Don't forget the low 4. So that will root us in this key. I would recommend playing that scale before you work on this etude. It just takes a second. And that will help you remember all of the notes that are diatonic in E flat major. Now, time signature, I promised we'd mention it. It'll get just a cursory mention. We have C, that's going to be 4/4. So there are 4 quarter notes in each measure. It's just eighth notes the whole way through. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and da 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 da, except it's going to be a little faster than that. So very, very simple rhythmically, really not a whole lot going on. So I mentioned that we're playing the scale beforehand to warm ourselves up in terms of what is going to be diatonic to this key. Diatonic means it's just naturally in that key. So I say that, but if you take a look at this etude, there are a ton of notes that have an accidental next to them. Maybe it's, in most cases, it's a natural next to it. In some cases, it's a sharp next to it. So there are notes that are outside of the key, some chromatic stuff going on in this etude, and that's really what we're gonna have to pay most attention to. As you play through it, you may or may not be super familiar with E flat major, so that's one challenge. Another challenge is just keeping track of all of those accidentals. Just remember that if you have an accidental at the beginning of the measure, that's going to carry through until the bar line unless it's canceled out by something else. There are a lot of places where you're going to want to avoid A naturals. Very occasionally you'll have an A natural and you can use an open string, but mostly you have A flats. So if you have A flats, make sure you're not, going in and playing a bunch of open A's, because that's just not going to work. You'll need to use your low 4th finger. If we think about our finger patterns throughout this, C string is going to be a 1-2 finger pattern with our D and E flat touching. Same thing on the G string, A and B flat make this 1-2 finger pattern. Once we get to the D string, that's going to switch to a 3-4 finger pattern with a low 1. A string is going to be the same thing, 3-4 finger pattern with a low 1. So this is the bass line that we're using, not thinking about any accidentals. Once we throw in some accidentals, things can get a little bit funny. Take measure 7, for example. It starts with a D, and then a C sharp, which is not a part of the key. Goes back to the D, and then it asks us to reach back for B flat. This interval from B flat to C sharp, that's a big stretch. That's an augmented second. So these are places that you're really going to want to pay attention, where you're going to be thinking maybe a little bit more about hand shapes than finger patterns, where you have these really high things and then reaching back for a B flat. Let's talk a little bit about the bow. The tempo here is going to be 120, about like that. Dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da. So you're not going to be able to use the whole bow, because if you use too much bow, it's just going to be sloppy. You probably do not want to be at the extreme tip or the extreme frog. I would shoot for somewhere around the middle and allow your contact point to at least be midpoint between the bridge and the fingerboard, or even better, a little on the closer side to the bridge, because we are at a forte dynamic here. You don't want to use too much speed, keep it controlled, keep a nice intense sound, a good solid tone on every single note. You don't want necessarily to start out and then have an airy sound. This isn't really the place for that. This is very sort of mechanical. So just practice that from the slowest tempos. Keep in mind what your bow will be doing at the full tempo, even when you're practicing slowly. The other thing we need to consider here are the string crossings. There are a lot of them. If we consider measure 4, for example, we can look at that. Just thinking about these, this gradual movement from the C string up to the D string. So we have a lot of these string crossings going on. We want to keep this nice and calm. We don't want to be moving too much. In general, with string crossings, we want to have a really efficient movement so that we're not moving too much. Of course, if you move too little, what happens? You get a double stop. So that will tell you if you're moving too little. But in general, I think the bigger problem I see more often is when people are moving a little bit too much. So just really practice those string crossings, try to make them a nice smooth movement so that they're not getting in the way of your rhythm or the clarity of your playing. Okay, so relatively straightforward. It's mainly going to be just really rooting yourself in the key of E flat major and also keeping track of all those accidentals. This is the type of etude that just takes some repetition, some getting used to. In this next section of the video, we're going to just play through it. I encourage you to play along with me if you want or can. This method of practicing, this notch practicing that I'm going to do, is not the only way to practice, and in fact is in some ways less effective than maybe some other methods. It works for me when combined with other methods of practicing. And if you have more questions about how to effectively practice, let me know. So we are going to take this at different metronome markings, this sort of notch practice, 60, 65, 70. One thing I want to note in this notch practice is I'm going to start at 60. If that's too fast for you, please don't try to just sort of go through it at that tempo if you're making a ton of mistakes. Practicing your mistakes over and over again is actually moving you backwards, not forwards. So my advice is to play it at the tempo that you can play it perfectly, or at least almost perfectly. So if that's quarter note equals 40, great. If it's eighth note equals 40, great. Whatever that may be, if you need to break it down into little pieces, if you need to go just from one note to the next note, that's totally fine. So just try to work it up to the point where you can play along before you try to do that, because I don't want you to be practicing mistakes over and over again, and don't feel bad if you need to start a little slower just to get to that point. That's totally normal and totally fine. So feel free to play along or just use this as a guide for maybe one of the ways that you might approach this. All right, so I like to start out at 60. It's a nice comfortable tempo here. This is exactly half tempo of where we want to be for this etude. So this is the quarter note, and we'll be playing eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and just like that. So let's play it. Get ready? This is 60, straight through. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, so I'm going to bump us up to 65. Now, when I practice material that's difficult for me, that I'm working on maybe for an orchestra performance or something like that, I actually do my notch practice by twos. And I also mix up the notch practice, so I might do a long short variation that might sound like this. And then a short long variation that sounds like this. The other thing I might do is I might play it at double tempo with a rest. And I might do all of these things, so play it normally, short long variation, long short variation, double tempo with a rest, do all those things, and then go from 60 to 62, and then 62 to 64, and do all of those things each time. I know it sounds like a lot, but what this is doing is it's sort of building insurance in for you that you really, really know it. For the sake of this video, because otherwise it would be many, many hours long, I'm just going to give you each tempo at intervals of 5 on the metronome. So if you're struggling with it, pause it, go back, see if you can add in some of those other strategies, and then see if that helps you at the tempos that I'm giving you, okay? Here's 65. 1, 2, ready, go. follow some of the advice I gave you last time with all of those other practice strategies. But for the sake of this video, we're at 70. 70 on the metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. Here is 75 on the metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. Here is 85. 1, 2, ready, go. Here is 90. 1, 2, ready, go. 1 of 5 on the metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. Here is 110 on the metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. Here's 115 on the metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. And here is our goal tempo of 120. 1, 2, ready, go. right, I hope that this was somewhat helpful to you. If you have any questions, if I didn't maybe cover something that you would have liked me to cover, please let me know, and I'd be happy to try to reach out to you and address that or answer any questions you might have about this. As always, thanks so much for watching and happy practicing.